are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Hello there, IELTS students. We are going to look at Band 9 speaking samples for recent questions. Now, as I mentioned, we have had a brief look at the speaking booklet the examiners get, and we've got a list of topics, and what I'm going to do is give you sample answers for these topics. We're going to look at, before you actually hear the answer, you will hear some of the techniques used in the answer. You'll hear some of the higher level vocabulary terms. You're going to also get alerted about the higher level grammatical constructions embedded in the answer, and this will just make it easier for you to identify them and ideally start incorporating them into your answers. There's also a few techniques such as adjective stacking, topic-specific vocabulary, prepositions, and higher level constructions as well. But before we get started with today's tutorial, I want to say a massive thanks to Elsa Speak. This is an app that will help you improve your speaking skills. It's available on Android and iPhone. And with this app, you can get instant feedback. You can find out where your errors are with regards to pronunciation. You can find out what level you're at. And at the end of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you could use this app specifically with some of the techniques that I'm going to share with you today. Now, the best way you can get the most out of this episode is probably first just casually listening, maybe even making notes, and then start incorporating it into your everyday speech. Now, when you start incorporating it, do not try to incorporate all 20 techniques, for example. Just aim for incorporating a few. In fact, depending on your level, you might even just want to incorporate one of them. Try using it the next time you speak English, and then once you've used it 3 or 4 times and you're more comfortable with it, we'll move on to the next one. The topics we're going to look at today cover education and work, health, and technology. Now, we know there are more topics in the IELTS exam. However, these ones, we're just going to break it down, looking at sample, like prompts, I guess, around the topic, and I will give you some sample Band 9 answers. In all of these answers, the grammar is perfect, and it's even been enhanced just to ensure these are Band 9 answers. Now, the first question: describe an activity you did at work, school, or in sports as part of a team. Now, immediately when I started this answer, I wanted to say when I was at uni, which is the casual way, but we have to remember this is a exam. This is a language exam. So we're going to upgrade it to university from the get-go, from the very beginning. Now, I'm also going to use specific language. I'm not going to say, well, once we did this activity at uni, okay, because both activity came straight from the question, and also, as we said before, we're going to use university. So I'm going to say group project, vocabulary unique to university. Maybe in work as well, but it's very common to have group projects in in university. The next, I wanted to incorporate a preposition between ourselves, or even better, we had to coordinate between ourselves. Now, the next technique I think is really useful, and this is it's kind of like adjective stacking. And you can do this with nouns as well. So we could say a real sense of enthusiasm and gusto. So we've got a real sense of enthusiasm, and that's kind of like an expression in itself. But instead of sort of like just leaving it like we were enthusiastic, how dry does that sound? A real sense of enthusiasm and gusto. Gusto. How many of you have heard the term gusto before? Well, it basically means enjoyment and enthusiasm in doing something. And it's just so much richer than saying we really liked the work, we really liked the activity. Next, noun stacking. I just put a few in there, put laggard, freeloader, just to really emphasize. A laggard is somebody who kind of just lags behind and is slow, and a freeloader is somebody who just wants the benefits without the actual input, without paying, usually. Okay, a freeloader. In a group of friends, there's often a freeloader. Verb stacking. In this one, when I'm saying stacking, what I'm doing is kind of like stuffing in a few more words just to show the examiner my range of vocabulary, my lexical resource, and I'm picking up points. In this case, I used hoodwinked, duped, bamboozled. All of these basically mean tricked, but I just wanted to emphasize the point, so I said it in 3 different ways. Hoodwinked, duped, bamboozled. I think they're all lovely words from the English language. There's a lot of character, I think. So there's a lot of character in these words. Final points in this next sample answer I'm going to share. Severely affected team morale. Now, I chose severely affected team morale because it's an expression in itself. It's like a collocation, severely affected. But instead of saying very bad for the team, I upgraded very bad from severely. And it says it both in once. It's very bad. That's what it means, very bad. Severely affected team morale. And then in the final phrases, I put which. So I say, I remember someone said that I had done it well, which, in all honesty, surprised me. Again, relative clauses. We've done entire tutorials about these relative clauses before in the past. Now, final expression, in all honesty. You can say in honest, or to be honest, or this is a slight variation. It's just an expression to suggest surprise. In all honesty. Like I was quite surprised, to be honest. In all honesty, surprised me. Let's go. Describe an activity you did at work, school, or in sports as part of a team. When I was at university, we had a group project to work on. We had to coordinate between ourselves and assign each other certain tasks so as to break the project down into bite-sized pieces. We initially approached the project with a real sense of enthusiasm and gusto, but this quickly dissipated because of James. He was a laggard or a freeloader who did not want to work. He said he had done the work, but in reality, he had done absolutely nothing. We had been hoodwinked, duped, bamboozled, and it severely affected team morale. In the end, we kicked him off the project and handed it in without his name on it. I remember someone said that I had done well, which, in all honesty, surprised me. Anyway, if I remember correctly, I believe we scored pretty high on that assignment. Now, just a few more notes that I didn't mention before. Initially, when I wrote out my answer, I put we scored pretty high on that group project. But I realized we'd already mentioned group project, so I changed it to assignment, which again is typical university speak or topic-specific vocabulary. Also, I used dissipated, but this quickly dissipated, which means it quickly went because of James. So in this answer, you can see there's quite a few times I was stacking up the adjectives or the nouns just to demonstrate the point, to add a bit of style to my oration, just to a little bit of style to my speaking, make it a little bit more interesting. Next question. Describe an article on healthy living that you read in a magazine or online. In this one, there's some key vocabulary, which includes there's an expression to emphasize, which is quite generic. So that means it's quite universal. And you can use it in your next speaking exam or the next time you talk with somebody. And it's only just to emphasize and maybe pull them in a little bit to make it more interesting. We have a phrasal verb, picking me up on. That means pointing something out or just pulling me up. It basically means reminding somebody about it as well. Then we've got an expression to emphasize or to show mild surprise, which is basically in fact. Again, so we have you see and then in fact. In fact, I was at the bar. Okay, you can use it in different ways. In this one, it's just kind of like a mild surprise. And then we've got another, this was a real upgrade because the article I talk about bad posture. Now, to really get that image of bad posture, I talk about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that is so much richer than bad back or bad posture. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I also use conjunctions. I use unless and another expression, to be honest. So we've got three expressions here, three very generic, useful expressions, which are quite easy to use in your next speaking exam. You see, in fact, to be honest. And now this is a very useful phrase as well. And I used it in the last one. It's anyway. Anyway can bring you back to when you know you're going off topic. So you say anyway, and then just go back to the question. Again, in this answer, you will hear a little bit of vocabulary stacking. I'm saying back stretches, arm extensions, and shoulder rotation exercises. How much better does that sound than saying exercises? Back stretches, arm extensions, and shoulder rotation exercises. And then finally, we've got a conjunction with yet. So we're picking up points for grammatical range and accuracy. Let's go. Here is the model answer. Describe an article on healthy living that you read in a magazine or online. I recently read this quick article on exercises to improve posture. You see, since my brother became a physiotherapist, he has been continuously picking me up on my poor posture. In fact, he said, Ben, you'll end up like the Hunchback of Notre Dame unless you sort it out. To be honest, I'm quite happy about this because otherwise I would have never noticed. Anyway, the article suggested a few different routines I could do to improve my posture. These included back stretches, arm extensions, and shoulder rotation exercises. However, like most of us, I only read the article and have yet to do anything about my poor posture. So 2 things there that I want to mention. However, at the end, another conjunction, and it's kind of like a summary as well. And also, if we are talking in the exam about a topic that you like, for example, your work, perhaps you're an accountant or perhaps you're an archaeologist, you've probably got a very perfect opportunity to introduce a lot of vocabulary related to your topic. So you've got an opportunity to introduce the vocabulary stacking technique I just mentioned. I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm not a sports trainer or anything, but just recently I have been diving into sports articles and reading because of an injury, so this is why I know these terms: back stretches, arm extensions, and shoulder rotation exercises. In fact, I think I made the last one up. I don't know, shoulder rotation exercises, but the examiner doesn't care. It's not like I'm saying helicopter hand exercises, which sounds ridiculous. Shoulder rotation exercises is quite easy to envision. Now, final one. Technology. Describe a useful piece of equipment, but not a computer, that you use at home. What key vocabulary do we have in this talk? Well, we have spiralizer, kitchen device, skewer, noodles. All of this is topic-specific vocabulary. If you want to score a band 7 or above, you need to include this in your answer. So if the examiner is talking about personal growth, you want to talk about reaching goals, attaining goals, ambition, objectives, development. If the examiner is talking about, healthy living, then you want to talk about sport, back stretches, arm extensions, and so on and so forth. Again, I've got this list technique of vocabulary stacking. I don't just give one benefit when I'm talking about this piece of technology or this useful piece of equipment. I'm giving you 3 benefits. This is like one of the techniques we include in the online course. We don't just say it's really good. We say it's really good because X, because Y, because Z. And this really enriches your answer. It develops them. You go deeper. You give reasons. You've got opportunities now to include vocabulary. And it makes it easier for the examiner. It makes it easier for you because you've got this list. You've now filled maybe 10, 12 seconds of the exam with some perfect vocabulary. Lists are much easier than long sentences. So go for it. You'll hear my list in a second. I've also sprinkled, I love that, that's a nice terminology as well. I sprinkled a little bit of emotion into this as well. And you'll hear that. I say it's magical. Hopefully you smiled then. But, I'm going to show the expression. I'm not going to say it's absolutely gorgeous, best thing in my life. No, that's just, it's just exaggeration. But this, in my honest opinion, this device is truly magical and I do enjoy using it. So I'm going to tell the examiner about that. And then 2 final things. 1, I'm using superlatives. And finally, I'm using a modifier with that superlative. Okay? I'm using the phrase at least. And you use the phrase at least to indicate that you're correcting or changing something that you just said. Okay? You'll hear it in a second. Let's go. Describe a useful piece of equipment, but not a computer, that you use at home. Well, I'd like to tell you about my spiralizer. This is probably my favorite kitchen device. It saves time, produces healthy food, and allows for a lot of creativity. With this device, you take a courgette or a zucchini, as they say in Australia, and place it on a skewer. Then, on one end, there is this handle that you twist to rotate the courgette. On the end, there is like a metal plate that is similar to a cheese grater. When you rotate the handle, the courgette is rotated against the metal grater and noodle-like strands come out. It's truly magical. These noodles can then be fried with garlic, chili and some olive oil. As I said, it's very quick and very healthy. This year it was my go-to meal. If I needed to eat quickly, it's probably the most useful piece of equipment I have, at least within the kitchen anyway. So that last sentence was pretty handy, I thought. So not only did I use the superlative, it's probably the most useful piece of equipment I have, comma, at least within the kitchen anyway. So as I said, at least, you use this to indicate that you are correcting or changing something that you just said. There we go. We've got 3 Band 9 level answers for topics. These topics were taken from the examiner book, which covers September, October, November, December. Yeah, the 4 months. Now, just before we finish, I want to mention Elsa Speak. Now, as you know, I'm a strong believer in writing out your speaking answers just so you can review them, so you can discover your blind spots, and so you can upgrade some of the vocabulary that you see there. Now, if you write out your answers in a Google Doc, then you're going to get some feedback with regards to the grammar with the blue squiggly lines underneath, which is fantastic. However, with the pronunciation, it could be a little bit difficult, especially if you are upgrading some of the words with words that you're not familiar with. For example, you've identified some generic words like bad or good or do. In my case, it was the university one. I said a project, and I wanted a more specific one, so I upgraded it to assignment. Now, in some cases, you might not know how to pronounce the new words that you're upgrading your speech with. And this is where the app could be very helpful for you, because you can just say the word into the app and you'll get that feedback and you'll know whether you're on the right track or not. And it's especially important if it's the first time you're using the word, because if you get the pronunciation wrong the first time, it could easily become a fossilized error. And that means that for the rest of your life, unless somebody points it out, but for the rest of your life, you could continue using that word and pronouncing it incorrectly. So that's why it's quite important the first time you learn a new word is to also get the correct pronunciation, and that's why the app is quite useful. And to help you with this, to help you continue improving, if you go to IELTSPodcast.com/INF/IELTS podcast, then we're giving our listeners a 40% discount for the 1 year pack, and that'll come out at around $27. It should be $45, but when you go to the link elsaspeak.com/INF/IELTS podcast, you will get a 40% discount. So if you've got your exam coming up and you need some quick feedback on your preparation, this could be an effective way to do that. And you've got the whole app for about 12 months, for an entire year there, and there's over 3,000 lessons. Or you could go for the lifetime pack, which is an 85% discount, and that's around $74. So there we go. If you want more help with your speaking, please get in contact. We've got a few spaces left to work on vocabulary classes, and we've also got the online course, Speaking Confidence, and of course the famous, the popular, the world-renowned. Did you see that vocabulary stack in there? Or did you hear it? Of course, we've got the famous, the world-renowned, the most popular online IELTS course, Jump to Band 7, or it's free, or the sentence guide as we used to call it. And there you can join us. We've got lots of students working through. You start the course, you get a few exercises to complete, then you get essay assignments, you watch the tutorials, you write your essay, you send it in for feedback, we give you that feedback, this is how you improve, and it's just this feedback loop, this positive feedback loop. So if you're struggling with IELTS, please get in contact. We can help you with the speaking confidence course, or with our online Jump to Band 7 or its free course, and we'd love to help you. So good luck with your IELTS exam and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.